All right, so this evening we're bringing home the third installment from the UI Metaphysical Show. This is Madison, Mad High Son. On the line with me, I have LT and David the God. This is where we're going to talk about a lot of esoteric and start bringing in...
Hey, wait a minute. The intro's on. Hold on. You got to do it again.
Okay.
Okay, go.
The recording has started. Please announce yourself. Please announce yourself. Please announce yourself.
Here we go. Hit it. Echo.
That's
We are recording.
Intro.
We are on air. Hit it.
All right. So this is Madison. With me, I have LT and David the God. This is the UI Metaphysical Show. And tonight we are going to talk about those loose ends and tie up some loose ends throughout your week. Universal ripples and things that you want to be grateful for. Whatever the universe is vibing with is pretty much what we're going to go with today. LT.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, how you feeling?
Man, I'm just living the dream.
And the God, how about you?
Peace.
Word. This is my first time hosting, so I'm kind of winging it, and we'll do what we do. But I start out with a little story about how my day went today. I saw this rainbow in the sky. I looked up, and it was just clear as day. I was standing at the airport and decided to get in a plane and pilot the plane, like steer and operate the plane. Man, if you've never flown, not just gotten on a commercial, get in a plane and fly somewhere. So let's take some of our thoughts today, David, and let's make some thoughts fly out there today.
My thoughts I'm currently having right now is that it's a real exciting time to be alive. With all this this chaos orchestrated and otherwise, just kind of get the feeling that something's on the horizon, and definitely can't wait to really not just experience but see the results, the climax of it, the end results. I mean, just ready for this paradigm shift that we've been knowing for some time is coming, and
Okay, LT, going with that. Do you think that as we talk about those far out concepts like the magnetic pole shift of the Earth and things like that, do you think that as the hearts and minds of humanity starts to change, that's kind of what's on the horizon?
Definitely. That my biggest thing that I harp on now is people understanding that whether we want to or not, our bodies are aligned with this dimension and this existence, the physical, the metaphysical, and you're going to change whether you pursue it or not. So most definitely we are on the path of hopefully something better. I still, I'm still watching like everyone else. Maybe I'm watching a little too closely sometimes, but I do believe that we are on the path to something great. In spite of what we see, I think it is a perfecting stage that we're in.
Okay. So, have you done your dream board? I know that's something we usually don't touch on, but have you done your dream boards?
Dream board as
in like we have several more rotations around the Earth, around the sun in our 3D state. So having the ability to project into the future the things that we want and exercise the things necessary to get it, have you started looking at the things, the physical realm that you want to manifest?
Yeah, I mean, for myself, I actually, understand how intent works, and for me, it's a day to day, just constant projection of, I do visualization of what I want, personally, and as for the bigger realm, I think sometimes, like the average person, I think I also get caught up in sometimes looking at things too closely and trying to get around what we're seeing in the media, because that's one thing I think that we're coming to the knowledge of, that it's twofold. We can be influenced to perceive the outcome of someone else or the outcome of what we want ourselves. So it's a little bit, I kind of get mixed up myself if I watch news stories too much, if I look at too much negativity, if I have a hiccup in my life and I focus too much on that. Sometimes I get tripped up in, maintaining I don't want to say a positive outlook, but maintaining a more accurate look of what I want, what I need, and what I desire to have in my life. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't really know if when you say a dream board, if it's something like tangible, something you actually write out or anything like that. But I know for myself, I do the same thing. You just try to you just kind of, for me, I practice the intent. I practice trying to visualize what it is I want, and sometimes it's real simple. Sometimes it's just as simple as starting your day on time, or getting my paperwork done before I actually do it, and things like that. Because those are simple little victories, and obviously the more grand ideas and wants and desires, constantly putting it out there, I don't know, man. Sometimes the anticipation for what's to come, no one really knows how that's going to look. You could do all the studying you want. You try to be well informed, but no one has ever lived in, in this dimension anyway, in true peace and harmony. And just trying to visualize how that would look is I don't know, probably next to impossible. But the things that you want, things that you believe that you want in your life, that's going to bring you happiness. Everyone should be, hopefully projecting that, especially now, since the return, or the likelihood of the return seems to be more likely to happen, I should say.
Okay. I'm going to pull in, we have such depth and breadth of topics that we cover, and we attack them from such a variety of angles. I wanted to bring in some Henry David Thoreau, because Henry David Thoreau's Civil Disobedience mentioned, but to speak practically and as a citizen, unlike those who call themselves no government men, I ask for not once no government, but a better government. Let everyone make known what kind of government would command his respect, and that will be one step closer to obtaining it. Right? So as all of these current events in the news, in the neighborhoods, all this stuff going on, do you think that when folks start demanding the kind of government that they want, they'll be free to kind of create the lifestyles that they want? Or is that too far out there?
I don't. I think that I just personally, y'all know I'm a sociologist, and you have to come to a place where you can see and look about and be able to analyze properly what it is that you're really seeing. What I see, and this is my own humble but, quote, educated opinion, just from being on the inside of a certain institution, I can say that what we have constructed is illusion. It's illusory. And if government, is control of the mind as opposed to culture, okay, even if we didn't have a government per se, you would always have culture that would govern our acts and our behaviors and our interactions amongst each other, which is what existed amongst indigenous peoples, right? Mm-hmm. They don't have central governments. They didn't need them because amongst the people was self-governance by natural law, right? So, yes, I do say to myself, okay, well, at this point, are we so far gone with where we are in Western society that we would have to have a government? I can't subscribe to that. I cannot say that because in my natural, when I, observe myself and the way that I want to exist in the world, there is no, quote, government. There is no governing of my mind, right? I am free to dictate how I interact in culture. I'm forced to follow government, so I don't feel free. But I would say, but when you say, what was the term that you used when you say it's like with the people will, with the people impose their will? Because technically, if government was run the way that it was written initially, right, it would be for the people, by the people. But I don't even know if you could even have that. I don't even know if that would even truly, be, because there is a school of thought, philosophy out there that says that people can never govern themselves. And that's Western thought.
Oh, man. But Eastern thought is to expose all aspects for truth, right?
It should shatter illusions. That's the...
And some of the television shows that have been aired lately have been shattering a lot of illusions.
Most definitely.
Well, which ones in particular are you speaking of, Jay?
I was listening about the school bus mm-hmm. programming thing earlier, and I was intrigued because I didn't watch the show. I can't remember the name of it, but it sounds very familiar from something by the same producers. I believe there was a Sandy Hook discussion.
That was also on SNL. Yeah, it was also on SNL.
Yeah, there's a lot of connections going on around here.
Sometimes I wonder if the connections are actually, what's planned out, or if it's like, just the conditions itself just I don't know how to word it.
I think I know what you mean. Does it emerge from the way that things are already operating? It's something that just emerges. Maybe it's not intent or willed by some entity. It's just that it's emerging from what already is happening.
Right. And we probably are giving way too much power to these so-called entities out there who may just understand it a little better than we are and just kind of a little bit further out front of it than we are. We're playing catch up. But like you always say, those who know how to speak the language of symbolism, they see it and they could comprehend it. But those who don't, it'll just kind of go right by them. But I'm starting to wonder a bit if this stuff just really manifesting itself based on the conditions. It's just like a cycle. It's just cyclical. It's just part of the process, if you will.
I think it's both. I think it's a little bit of both, because remember, we understand that you can conjure. This is something we never get to tap deep into because people just don't believe. Whether they believe it or not, you can go on the internet and you can find forums of people sharing how to do spells, how to conjure energies, and thoughts and actions can be conjured to the point of becoming its own entity. That is, and that even falls under universal law. That it's just, okay, it's like thinking yourself into being negative. right? So you can actually think so much negatively that you do negatively, and what you do negatively manifests negative, and manifesting all things in your life negative. The thought becomes an entirely negative universe. You create that. So you're exactly right in that it has a mind of its own at some point, but yet there still has to be will and intent for it to occur. So it's kind of twofold. It kind of works together. It's always law of cause and effect. So there has to be a cause and then an effect. It doesn't just necessarily happen, but I get what you're saying. Maybe it's continual and it cycles from decisions made, eons ago.
Right. I'm just kind of thinking about, still thinking about Tron and how in it, the ISOs, they just manifested, and they wasn't part of, here's this guy creating this, creating this world, this digital world, and he's the architect of it, but he's basically tapped into a knowledge and trying to control it to some degree and offer it to the world for free. But then all of a sudden these entities started to pop up, which was what he called a miracle, and they were the key to everything. So, as much as people try to control, control their world, control their universe, control their own destiny, these little miracles occur, and they, they kind of enlighten you even more, I guess. I guess that was the point in that particular movie. I don't know what you thought of that.
Exactly what you just said. That's what. Remember at the point, for anyone who's seen Tron, where he is speaking of specifically the female entity, and he says that she is more than I could have ever imagined and created. And basically, like you said, creating this universe that because creation always seeks to create. And that which destroys always seeks to destroy. You always have this cosmic battle of creation, destruction. But whichever side of the coin it's on, that's what it does. That it exists to destroy. Same thing in Matrix. Remember when Mr. Smith says, "You stole my purpose. I have no purpose. If you get in my way, I am purposed to destroy. And you're stopping me from that." On the same side of creation. And once you put it into motion, yes, it is an infinite, that's mathematics, right? It's pi. It's infinite. It goes on and on and on and on and on until something comes in to change the trajectory or observe it, like the Boston-Higgs particle. Something comes in and actually causes that initial path to divert or, become something different. So we're in a point where I believe that with, and it's my own theory, but I feel that there are certain entities, members of the Brotherhood or whatever on certain broadcast channels that are trying to change and affect maybe some of the negative that had been put out as a trap for us, that they're countering that and forcing us to intake symbolism that actually elevates us and not destroy us.
There's a network that's been doing that, and I've been watching it closely. If you're familiar with the work of Will Packer, he's been doing it with Shaft and all of these classic movies.
Bounce?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They have really been getting a solid message out.
The title itself, I mean, thinking, bounce, like changing trajectory, elevating. It's that's what we talk about NBC with the rainbow peacock, both symbolism of alchemy. You know, you're seeing everywhere, if you look closely on their TV shows, you're going to see the black, the red, and the white. Someday we need to really go into depth about what alchemy is, but that is how we sum up for people. A lot of people ask questions. We never get to really tap into this, but why are black men all over the media right now? Like, what does it mean to have a television show with a black woman and a white man as her lover? What does it mean to have a television show, you know, where there are no black women on it? What every show is depicting something to us about the nature of our current existence. And some of them are using characters to show us exactly, you know, either where we're headed, where we were, or where we are.
No. Did you want to go into that as far as, you know, with all these, you know, we were speaking on negativity, you know, you have all these celebrity athletes, you know, one by one's in trouble, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the issues they're having are everyday issues, but now, you know, the black male has become the face of these issues, and then you combine that with all the killings of you know, unarmed black men across the country is almost a daily thing now. That with the fact that you got this brother in Oklahoma who was supposed to be a recent convert to Islam, who's done something that you know, conservative media in particular has been kind of warning Americans about, which is all these beheadings. You know, it's just been beheadings overseas of journalists and whatever. Now it's hit the heartland of America with this black guy as you know, his face is plastered all over the place. And, you know, with that being the current image that's being marketed to, you know, a country filled with people who are fearful, full of negativity. You know, they got their guns and they you know, they're prepping and you know, to me it's almost like it's like a signal to attack, you know, the black male image. And, you know, then you got this show, this, you know, scandal that's got this you know, we know what the setting of that show is.
Mm-hmm.
It with everything that's going on, it does not seem, it is not by chance, you know. So explaining how this is affecting the subconscious of the nation is important, but it's very daunting too, you know.
How do we make it, like, and that's the thing, like, how for us, you know, we have conversations what a lot of people may not know. For us is when we converse, how we even came into doing the Metaphysical Show is because we study, you know, that which is metaphysical, and it's very difficult. The main thing people have to understand is why metaphysics. Okay, it is an actual focus in studying knowledge. It's studying the knowledge behind the knowledge. It's like a levels of understanding information, and being able to understand the language of that information and being able to decipher it. It literally is like becoming an intelligence officer of Russian, but you're an English speaker. You literally have to go into this entirely different culture that exists that most people don't really know about, and you have to learn the language, the source of the symbols, and then, you know, how all of that came about, and then studying the symbols, which is the language of that culture. So when we talk about esoteric things and metaphysical things, it's understanding either mathematics or, you know, supreme alphabet, things like that, knowing that everything has a frequency or everything relates to everything. So it's hard to explain to people who aren't necessarily learned in it, and we always say, we never want to come from a place of being condescending because we understand that not everyone can speak the language. So I think what we're trying to get better at doing is interpreting, and that's really what the show is about, is to try to interpret for those who may not know the language. We're literally like the translator of the metaphysical, just as if you would hire a translator for, Spanish speaking or sign language. Trying to make it real and accessible. So that being said, when something happens in the media, you need a translator based on the culture that is behind what goes on in the media, because the media is its own culture and it has its own language. And most people can't speak that language. They only see exactly what gets put out to them. So a black man gets shot, a bunch of people converge on a city, the news comes in, police officers come in, the National Guard comes in. All that has meaning behind it. It isn't just exactly what you see.
Right.
So all of it is just it's what Hunger Games is telling you. It's what, it's what the Matrix is trying to tell you. It's what Tron is trying to tell you. And it's interesting because, as you were saying, I was kind of thinking about what's the character in Matrix 2 who was the French gentleman who was pretty much the same character in Tron. He was he was in charge of entertainment and distractions.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the media is. That's that leg of the Matrix. You have these different legs. And it's all pertaining to metaphysics. And you said it's the you said it's the knowledge behind the knowledge. And the funny thing is, it's where things originate. And it comes down to the very basic level, and it's playing out, and people don't have no clue that, everyone keeps saying, well, how do we fix these problems in our community, and all we need is unity and all the, well, no, you got to understand where the attack is coming from, what level it's coming. It's not just some people sitting in a damn boardroom that just want to take over your community. There's a reason why, and it gets into the physics and the genetics and everything else. It's not just, this is not basic at all. It's not. And so I'm glad you put it that way. It's the knowledge behind the knowledge. What's your take on it, J-Mad?
I sit in some of these meetings for the 9 to 5, and I hear the same BS, the same song and the same dance. And I mentioned before, I think that I wonder, who exactly are you here to help? Because their questions don't address nothing that's the problem. What problem are we solving by doing some of this stuff? And it's part of why we have to have that esoterical overview, that big picture overview, and then somebody's got to be able to translate what it means. Like, why Ferguson? Why a town that means or translates directly into fear us, right?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow, yeah.
I mean, there are people that are wide awake and can see this from the moment that it happened.
And that is the veil. That is the veil that we talk about when we say, when you've mastered something, which is what these adepts, these people of the knowledge behind the knowledge, what we want to present to the nation, our nation of people, is that there was a time when there was no veil to you. You would have known how the stars were mapped. You would have known where you originated. You would have known your language. You would have known your spirituality and its connection to the cosmos. You would have known all of these things. You would have been directly tapped in. There would be no institution in between you and that knowledge. You would know how your brain operated to a certain extent. Maybe, not necessarily as deep as the Cometians did, but you would be. You look at a nation, at an American Indian nation, and the knowledge that they were given by their ancestors, and it was passed down. Well, for us, our knowledge was interceded. Someone stepped in, some entity stepped in and blocked us from knowledge that would have been ours. Well, now, care of the internet, right? Because they didn't put this in Encyclopedia Britannica that I recall. We have access to that information and that knowledge. And that's what we're coming back into understanding, and we're starting to tap in. So when we say, people are like, oh, we just need to unify. Well, I can't unify with you if you don't even know, if you're not even in unification with yourself. If you're not even in unification with the universe, with the cosmos, and you're in touch and understand your place in all this, then it's going to be very difficult for you to link up with the next person. And so that's what we're trying to bring. We're actually going back to the beginning to work our way forward. We got to go back to move forward. And it's this knowledge and this information that is going to explain why a bunch of black men need to be shot. And I say need because that is the intent of another group. They need to kill black men. There's a reasoning behind that.
No, that's the only way they can truly survive, isn't it?
Survive? Exactly. Yeah.
Their entire bloodline is done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, we're talking about watching and witnessing the ISIS papers in real time. All of these impotencies, so easy, a caveman can do it.
Wow.
Caveman, Capital One bank references. Man, it is straighten up and get like Jimmy Kimmel, or you know what's coming.
Mhm. Mhm. And we always talk about when they find out who they are. It's a you either fall into that sword, or you help right the wrong.
Man, that's why we love hip hop so much, because it told us what was going down. 10 years ago, Method Man told us in Judgment Day what was going to pop off. And we're watching it in real time. Oh, snap.
I think that was D.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. But yeah,
I done did it once.
But that, and see, the thing is that's what when you hit on the hip-hop aspect of it, that would explain so much why the conscious, and we've said it so many times, to the point that it's, it's cliche now, but the cutting off of any access to highly conscious hip-hop, where, even for myself, to hear Poor Righteous Teachers, in California, I didn't know what they were talking about at the time, but I could tell the difference between that and NWA. I could tell the difference between conscious rap and not conscious rap.
But,
and it, not to take away from the truth that was also spoken, but my point being is that there was a certain intent and will that was desired behind giving us, NWA versus giving us Boogie Down Productions.
But they gave us NWA so that we could be distracted.
Mm-hmm.
NWA got the game right. These mugs is billionaire clubs now. Right? They knew what they were doing.
They knew exactly what they were doing.
They were kicking it with those Brooklyn cats, getting it in.
When they put out Self-Destruction, and we're all in the same gang, that was people's access to, oh, wait a minute, Unify?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sure, ABC organizations are like, oh, shit. They're about to discover themselves.
Right. That was on a scatter drill right there. Every when the lights turn on, it was like, oh, snap, we figured it out. Everybody went running.
Mm-hmm.
Queen Latifah eased out, did her show. LL Cool J eased out, got into TV. These must got into some TV contracts so they could stack that loot. And they said, here go the blueprint.
And again, for the sake of, for what David was saying, where we don't really know, there's certain things that are constant, and the truth is the only constant, right? The truth is a constant for us, that we can be sure that even when it seems like we don't have the answers to what's going on, we know without a doubt that truth is going to come to you. It's going to come in many different forms. It's going to present itself. You're going to be able to begin to read the signs. And I think that's where we are at this point in time, where truth can't be hidden. It's like that saying, it's I can't remember if it's Rumi or who said it, but it's like 3 things cannot be long hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where we are at this point in our time of our existence, because even people who may not necessarily, again, be able to speak the language, a lie, deception, because it doesn't resonate as truth. And they may not be able to put their finger on it, but they're like, something is not right.
That's because they have that phrase in their psyche: the sun, the moon, and the truth.
And the truth.
The truth shall set you free. That's what they say, right?
That's what they say.
And even go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm about to say, even church folks are getting it, but they're not getting it. They give it
You're
to you.
You're so right. Yeah.
And you're not getting it. And the truth shall set you free. Like your mama tell you, sit down now. Sit down. You don't sit down, you're in real big trouble, because she's going to set your butt on fire. But
here's something I was thinking about that. On that note, real quick, is that the seeds have been planted in so many ways. And that's what I wanted to say again about the truth. Because the thing about it is even this is something that also has to be understood about intent. So in other words, if I want to do magic ritual against you, I still have to follow truth, or else it does not work. I cannot deceive you without putting truth out. That's why a lot of the things that are done to us are done in plain sight, and you have to give your consent. So in other words, Facebook privacy policy, when you sign away your rights based on their policy and their contract and their user agreement, Google, all these other programs that have these algorithms that take all your information, your entire life force, and put it and collect it, you are willingly giving that over to them. It has to be that way. In other words, they could not just say, okay, hey, this is Facebook, and go ahead and use it. They even tell you they're going to mine yourself. They're going to mine you, that they're going to clone you, basically. They're going to create a digital version of you.
And most people don't know how to get their own self.
Yes.
You can go to your settings and download my Facebook data.
Yes.
I've done it. I've stored it in an Excel spreadsheet.
Took 2 hours. Took 3 hours to get every word. Every word. Your account. And that's what people don't understand. So you're willingly handing it over, and it has to be done that way in order for whatever the intent of the controller, they can't just take it from you. It has to be given up.
It's like shopping,
and so, right. So in exchange for that, they're giving you seeds of truth. So, in other words, you go sit in the church. This is why I don't too much knock, people attending, because you are actually getting the truth. You're getting a watered-down version, no power type version of the truth, but you're still having the seed planted. I could never give back my 27 years that I was, attending Christian church. I wouldn't give up, because it led me to the path that I am now. If I didn't have those seeds of knowledge, I wouldn't be where I am now.
Right.
There's truth being spoken. Now there's a new language that has to be learned in order to put it all together.
So, which language is required to put it back together? Because we've established that it's been broken out into the arts and delivered through all these things, and even the technological arts, because we could really refer to the digital era as that with Steve Jobs. But how do you think what is the language that you think needs to be learned?
We kind of got to demystify sacred and profane. Profane.
Oh, wow!
Right, we got to demystify this because it does feel kind of offensive if someone says that you're of the profane. But we're all still of the profane, even as we begin to learn sacred knowledge and sacred language. The sacred is closest to the source of this knowledge of which we speak. So, in other words, if we were to travel back and we went to Nubia and Kemet, where these mystery teachings and schools, began, and basically it was just indigenous knowledge packaged. You'd almost call it like the University of the Indigenous, right? It's like the basic understanding of the cosmos all packaged together and put into symbols, hieroglyphics as we know it, put into these hieroglyphics, put into the principles of Ma'at, put into, all different stories and characters, Isis, Horus, Ra, all of these different entities so that they would contain the knowledge and that it could never be defiled. The defilement of the sacred comes when profane puts simple interpretation of it. So in other words, if I don't know, I'm taught Mary. The profane are taught Mary, right? Mary and the baby Jesus. The sacred know that that's Isis and Horus. So we have to begin to go back to the source of this indigenous knowledge. That leads you into that which is sacred and brings you out of the profane. Until you do that, you're not even getting the full story. You can't fully act on what it is that, that's been given to you. So in other words, you can go to church every Sunday and they're going to tell you, pray to Jesus, pray to Jesus, pray to Jesus, pray to Jesus, pray to Jesus. And it's not to say that prayer doesn't work, even for a person who doesn't know the sacred knowledge. But the fact is that person's still separated from the true fullness of the source of that knowledge and that information, which minimizes the power of which they could have. So in other words, let's send a bunch of black folks to churches that never tell them the true sacred knowledge of what it is that they're seeking. You're going to control that people indefinitely. Those people will never rise up to the fullness of the power that they could have if you told them exactly what it was behind that knowledge that you're presenting to them every week. But I can go for 50 years getting the same thing and never truly being able to fully use the power that I could if you said, oh, hey, by the way, this is where this source originates and this is how you use it.
If they did that, people would find purpose in what they do for a living.
Be a wrap.
I mean, when you put that lid on it, it sounds so simple. But they say what's easy to do is also easy not to do, which is probably why it hasn't happened yet.
Because there's a belief that sacred knowledge, again, it's the pearls before swine statement. If those who have the sacred knowledge and the entities that have the sacred knowledge, that were given the sacred knowledge, of course they know what would happen if we had that knowledge. It'd be a wrap for them, number one. But at the same time, it's just like for us, when we want to share this precious knowledge, and it's very precious. People, when you come into it, you're going to find how amazingly deep it is. And then you realize, no, I can't tell this to everybody. I can't tell this to everybody because they wouldn't know, they wouldn't appreciate it, or they're not in the place where they can use it. So we even do it ourselves. You know what I mean? Like it's just, you know that there's a time and a place to give it to people. And that's recognized.
Okay.
What you got to say, David? Jump in.
Yeah.
Now that you're back in.
Yeah, I was just, I just got back in, but I really didn't catch the last part of that.
Sacred and profane. Where would we be if we had sacred knowledge as a people?
Oh, we definitely. Well, you know what? From what I understand, this, I sure will. You know, we're trying to reinvent the wheel with living in this human form. We definitely wouldn't be in this human form right now. Actually, once we realize and come to understanding of that knowledge, you know, we're not destined to rule in human form anymore as a group. You know, we've been there, we've done that. You know, this chaos we've been in for the last 2,000 years, in particular the last 500 years, is just preparing us for that next level.
Oh wow!
You know,
I like where you're going.
which is here, but we're not tuned in. We're not tuned in. You know, like you tune in a television or a radio frequency. You know, it's all around us, but we don't see it because we're not of that frequency yet. But you know, that's what sacred knowledge will get us. You know, and that's what we are awakening to. The block that you were speaking of earlier, as far as how they're blocking us from, they interceded and blocking us from that information. Well, it's going to come anyway. You know, we're cosmic people. You know, so just because they have blocked us one way, you know, the universe just figures out another way. You know, so you know, we're being awakened through all kinds of energies that's hitting our Earth. You know, as we speak, hitting the solar system, for that matter, and it's changing us the way the knowledge would change us. So it's happening regardless.
Huh. I like that approach. I mean,
So
I go ahead.
No, you go.
I was about to say I felt where you were going with the complete cosmic being, the fact that we come from the cosmos. I had a discussion with some folks in a group about the origination of some of the gods and things of this sort, and I don't think they realized that the astrology that was passed through Greek mythology aligned with everything that was taught, not taken, but taught. So if you followed enough, you would see the difference between taking, because what was taken along the way, you know, they left ruins behind every step of the way. The libraries have always been destroyed.
Yeah, Hellenistic. Go figure. Hellenistic. I never thought about that. What we call hell.
Right. If heaven were hell and vice versa, would you start doing evil in order to nurture? All right. I had to go there because, you know, we're looking in the hell on earth caused by, you know, imposed upon us, growing up in the ghetto, growing up in the hood. But once we figured it out, the answer is hell yeah, we'll do evil in order to nurture it. We look at all of these hip-hop folks that got their start slinging dope, but they were smart enough to try and fix the situation, not just sling it to flash.
But that takes it, and where you going with that? Like, you know, see how the way we do. I love the way we feed off and we just delve deeper and deeper, because now you're tapping into that is the in this dimension, that duality that we always speak of, is that there are times when you have to do hell to bring good, that you have to whip up chaos to create order.
Mm-hmm.
That is cause and effect. That is natural law. It occurs in a planet It occurs in a star being created. It occurs in a black hole. I mean, you're going to have chaos. It occurs when you
create
yes, we talked about that last time. We said, you create anything, and there's going to be chaos. On the flip side of order, I was going to ask David to make it in the terms in which we speak to make real for people, basically to translate the actions against black men into the metaphysical. Translate our current times into the metaphysical language for them.
Well, it's just, our ancestors gave us, the stories, and those stories are really just describing energies and cosmic forces and things like that, and they manifest in the physical form. And so you have, the black man who is the enemy of the of the European, and who is our brother. So you have this whole idea of Osiris and Set, playing out God, devil, whatever, and it's playing out exactly the way they told us. And so our image is being killed and assassinated or crucified for the whole world to see by our brother, and the female, of our group, her job is to, resurrect, that principle resurrects us. And where they're interceding at, Chris Rock told them about 10 years ago, one of his stand-up, I forgot which one it was, but he said, you won't see as much interracial dating or marriage, black women with white men, because black women just ain't attracted to white men, and the crowd went crazy. Well, what did they do? They ratcheted their efforts up in that regard, and now for the last 4 years, you got Scandal being the number one show, and it's here again this year, right after the climax of all these, shootings and, all this murder, all this chaos when it comes to black men, that even the celebrity, even the moneyed amongst us are being taken down left and right, And so, but that principle, that principle is supposed to be resurrecting us, but it's being diverted because, as Matt said, their bloodline is it. It's over, and they need that genetic material in order to continue to exist here. But that's them reaching. That's them. Just trying to hold on by the hairs of their chin. It's over. So even this effort that they're putting forth now is going to fall short. You have this. The propaganda being placed out there as far as, what the world's going to look like in 2015 and all that, that's just wishful thinking. Black, and it's going to go back to black. It wasn't beige and going back to beige, and that's not to say black is like, okay, I'm all about black pride and black superiority and all this. No, it's just, it's in this form, those energies, those cosmic forces are played out and manifest as it does in the form here on Earth, and once we finish with this, we go to the next level, and so, but that's what's going on. You got to destroy the black male image, like you said, ISIS papers. I mean, come on, it's being played out. They told us, they all told us, 60s and 1960s and 70s, that's when that was the height of our consciousness. That was the height of our knowledge. And all of those people then was telling us what it's going to look like now. And that's what you see. You see it now. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, she said in 1970, she said that the goal of white supremacy is to have black men in dresses. So now we done sagged our pants all the way off to the point now we're wearing dresses and high heels and shit. That was the goal. But we're waking up that shit is not going to be. That will not normalize for us. It will not.
Do you think that was a go signal for an activation of this correction? We see a lot of black men stepping or going down in the media, but where they're stepping up, we're not looking because we've got a black woman on #1 show, prime time. When Hawthorne was out, that was the same situation. Another black woman in the #1 spot. We've got images of black men that are great images, but are they not getting seen in the right way?
So we don't control media, and if we did, they would probably be seen. But I think people. That's what we exist for. People who wants to say that, hey, we're. Hold on one second. I'm sorry about the noise in the background. Give me 1 second.
Don't go whooping the babies. You'll get arrested for that.
Parenting.
No.
Push the mute button.
I wish somebody would talk about coming to get me over mine out, boy. Yeah, I'll make the news for real. Hold on.
Those some news stories in the making right there. Believe me, I feel it.
I don't want to take away from his thought. So, Matt Eisen, we're supposed to.
I'm back. Sorry about that.
I just read this. I had to put this up because there's word from the listeners that we, Matt Eisen and I have a hard time simplifying stuff. So we have to make it clear that David is like our translator. It's like,
I speak. I speak Matt Eisen and LT.
Remember on Stanford and Son with Smitty and Hoppy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd be like, Mr. Stanford, there's a 52 down on the boulevard, and we must convene to begin, and then they'd all look at Smitty, and then he'd be, he wants you to come down outside, come down to the courthouse, or whatever, come down to the police station. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's my job right there.
We haven't figured out how to.
Sometimes I sound like Taz. Sometimes I sound like Marvin the Martian.
There you go. There you go.
Sometimes. I mean, in that, one thing that's been like the story of my life, because I kind of was like that when I was little. I would say stuff, and people would just be like, "What are you saying?" I mean, it made perfect sense to me, So, I mean, maybe that's where. It's like I don't want to be on that level at all times. I mean, trust me, I definitely zone out from time to time. I watch a lot of stuff that is not, it's not all cosmic all the time, for sure. But it is tough. I think once you open that door to trying to get that knowledge. It's just I don't know. It just gets you to a point where that's just what you're tapped into, And I just think, David, you're just really good at balancing, where you've come from and what it is that you've attained. It's just natural for you. I wish I had that capability. I try to simplify, but I don't know how. Not yet.
Well, I think to Madison's question, as far as are we not seeing those positive images? And the thing is, for us that study the metaphysics or the esoteric, that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to point it out because they're not going to. The enemy is not going to help you, And we have to do the best we can with the limited outlets we have, because we don't have networks and things like that, But we still have means to get information out, so we have to point it out and and hopefully the people will at least just go take a look. You know, if they're interested enough, they'll go take a look and try to verify, the information that we do put out.
Okay. Well, let's. You said we don't have a network. What would a network look like if we needed access to a network that we could utilize? Which part of our message would we want to resonate each time we got together?
That we are awakening, and the network. I'm when I say network, obviously I'm talking about like, NBC, CBS, things like that. But we do, in a sense, we do have a network, and that's what social media helps us, helps us to, and even with this radio show here, so yeah, in that sense. But each time, what we want it to be known that we're waking up. For the Christians who constantly hear about, the resurrection of the dead, it's taught to them in a way that they, it's
fairy tale.
It's like, it's like superstition. No, it's literal, but the awakening process is really just coming into knowledge yourself. Because once you come into knowledge yourself, you cannot be duped again. You walk with no fear. You become a little bit more bold. You have, you want knowledge. After you come into knowledge yourself, you can't help but to want more. So that's what the theme would be if I was in the head of a network. We're waking up. Stop asking about unity. Wake the fuck up first. Then we could, talk about unity.
And that it's okay to embrace it, because I think that, again, as I was saying, there's a part of us that I think it's a big leap to let go of what you've known to grasp onto something new, and, stepping outside of a comfort zone. I mean, there's people, myself, I experienced, and I've talked to others that when they went to go seek more knowledge and seek, the truth behind maybe biblical knowledge and stuff like that, like they literally had panic attacks. Like, it's scary because you're literally jumping into an abyss of something you just don't know what's on the other side. Well, what happens if I let go of that information to grasp onto this information? What if, and that's the big thing in the church, and I think that is the whole reasoning behind telling people not to venture out of what they're being taught, because it's literally like scaring the mess out of your child from leaving your yard, and you could do that until your child is like 20 years old. You're like, you do not leave outside of this fence. I don't care what you do. You do not step outside of this fence. And the child never knows what's on the other side of that fence, even if there's truth over there. And you just scare the mess out of them, and they never go beyond there without fear. Once they do venture out, they're too fearful to even step outside of that. And that's the same way with a lot of faith. People aren't able to seek deeper even. Like, you don't even have to let go of your Christian faith. Just seek it deeper. Seek out the source and seek out the symbolism and try to understand what it is that you're being taught rather than what's just being told to you.
I hear some static in the line. Is it just mine?
Is that your line?
I don't know. Probably is. I stepped outside, and then they finally got a lock on me.
Yeah, that might be.
So when I go to work tomorrow, I expect that my computer's running quickly and without issues. Man, for those people tuning in, you got to understand that every time we get to talking, there's always some disturbance on the line that comes in a variety of ways, and we address our alphabet agencies at every chance we get because we
really do.
We appreciate the opportunity.
We just love. Oh wait, and his call dropped. He lost his signal. Wow.
Oh, gosh. I swear that's funny.
I swear the timing is impeccable.
Oh, that's funny. Last time it was me. Oh, it gets funnier and funnier every time because it's like right on cue.
Well, so we are, we've been on a bit. Oh, okay. So here's a question. I got a question from, okay. What is metaphysics? Why is it important? How can I use it?
What is metaphysics? Why is it important? How can I use it?
I almost kind of want to wait for David to get back on the line so that he can give his insight too.
Yeah.
But you go ahead, and I'll let him.
Before we get to metaphysics, and this is me trying to bring it back to a regular level, and I'm working on that, so just ping me if necessary. But
okay.
Before we start talking about the metaphysics part, we've got to talk about physics, physical things. We have, like, the concept of matter, which can't be created or destroyed, but it can be reformed into anything we can imagine, i.e. rocks and dirt and sand that made pyramids versus metal that was extracted from rock to make vehicles, right? We can talk about those as physical things, clothing, textiles as physical things. And I think I want to be clear to kind of bring that, because we to learn about solids and gases and things like that from a school standpoint. But where metaphysics takes off is that it takes and looks another level deeper into that matter, like the chemical compounds, the elemental structures and things of that sort, and how they relate to one another, because they're all cosmic dust, just like us. And it's understanding that each piece of physical matter has a different frequency in this cosmic space where it came from. Does that make sense at all?
Yes, to me, but will it make sense to the listener?
Right, that's why we need our translator.
I know our translator's gone, darn it. See, they did that on purpose, because they want people to know what we were saying. No.
We're going to be back on Jupiter if they keep on.
Okay, so meta is the larger picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Meta being the wider scope of something. And that's just me simplifying that. But so meta, and as you said, physics. So the larger picture behind physics. So physics is what you might be taught in a classroom at a certain level, junior high, or junior year in high school, or, a college class. You're going to be taught the laws that occur every day, from gravity to inertia, right? You're going to be told that if you push this ball, this is acceleration, this is a trajectory, this is how a ball rolls, this is how it stops, these are the forces acting upon this ball. Mm-hmm. Those are physical laws that happen every time, no matter where you go on this earth. Physics, right? So, physics. Metaphysics is those laws that you can't see. Well, you can't even see the basic laws, but metaphysics is almost like, as I said, the knowledge behind the knowledge. So it's a deeper level of knowledge of the physics that you're taught in high school. There is more to that than just the basics that you're taught. So how can you use it? This requires almost a doing and a faith that again, it can't be, you'd have to go back to the source and the origin of this particular science. So to go back to the source of this particular science of physics, you'd find yourself back in the motherland, right? You'd find yourself back where they had mapped out the stars, which is astrology. They had mapped out the different play of all the bodies in the heavens, which is cosmology. Numerology is the study of the frequency of numbers and mathematics and things of that such. All of that intertwined, and how they operate is physics. You put it all together, and that's metaphysics. I probably just totally flubbed that. I don't even know if that made sense, but I'm trying to just show people how it's a bunch of layers of knowledge upon knowledge.
And it's constructed upon the matrix?
Yeah, that's all you can say. How do you use it? Well, the law of cause and effect is for every action. We're taught, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. The same goes for thought. All things are energy, right? That's physics. Or chemistry, whichever you will. But all things are energy.
Chemistry.
Yep. All things are energy. So as energy is acted upon or energy is put out, there's going to be a response to that energy.
Mm-hmm.
That's metaphysics. So people who, you're not told that prayer is a metaphysical act, but it is. Because you're putting your intent, your thought is energy. It generates a frequency which will affect some outcome. We'd have to get really deep in that, and I don't think people are ready to go to that level. But at the most basic, you need to just understand that there's layers from what you were taught in high school, and the rest of that knowledge is something that you have to seek out.
So when Kendrick Lamar said, "Don't kill my vibe," and I can feel your energy from 2 planets away, was he using an alchemical or a metaphysical analogy? That
dry or not interesting. It's just telling people that, you got to think in the cosmos, and you got to believe in things that you've never believed in before, and that it's just kind of dry, and it's very difficult to.
Yeah, it just really, I don't even, and for us, the thing is when we got together, we began to vibe, and discussing, just talking back and forth about, different, our translator's back on the line, just so we know, but when we first started talking about doing this show, it's because we knew that there were people who were part of UI who wanted to have deeper discussions, because they do understand metaphysics. So like I said, with other listeners who may not be as knowledgeable, don't feel put out, because the thing about it is that it's not that someone's talking over your head. It's just that there was a time when I didn't know the language. There was a time that I would have heard anyone talking like this, and I would have thought they were out of their freaking minds. Like, what are you talking about? You're crazy. You're not of God. That's what I would have said to them. And now I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. I understand the language. So I never look at someone who's not here. I'm not looking down and saying they don't understand this. They don't know what we're talking about. I just know that it's a different language. But I said all that to say is that we came about doing this because we knew that there were people who were hungry to have deeper discussions in the metaphysical aspect. And that's what this really is about. So we want to bring people in to the understanding, and we don't want to put anybody off or feel like it's something that they can't listen to. We just hope that we're dropping little nuggets of truth that you can follow and hopefully begin to decipher the language.
Yeah, because it's a very personal thing anyway. You can't force individuals to get it get it this way. They have to, have the thirst for it themselves, and which makes it, more meaningful. It's it becomes more real for them. Because I know for me, when I started to study, like everyone has this feeling that I believe everyone has this feeling like, hey, there's something more to this shit. I've felt that ever since I was a child. It was hard for me to accept certain things, and so and trust me, I've had people, Christians in particular, try to sit me down and try to really explain to me that hell is a real thing, and I'm going to go there unless I do X, Y, and Z. But I just couldn't buy it. And you get to the point where you hopefully that desire starts to attract people around you that can help explain things to you that will resonate with you. And then once that happens, you start doing your own research and study. And really, if you go and just study Black history prior to slavery, that in itself will make you open up to the more esoteric and metaphysical aspects of this stuff. So, like I said, it's a personal thing, and yeah, you're right. It's not trying to talk over people's heads. It's just simple. It's just simply you don't know the language, and once you know the language, you could have that conversation. And truth be told, we are infantile in this. You know what I'm saying? We're there's cats out here who probably see you are metaphysical, and they probably go and click on it and listen, and they're like, they ain't really talking about nothing. They haven't really broken down anything, because there's some cats out here who's deep into it and actually apply it and could get real results, and I'm just starting to get results. I'm just, and it's been 12 years for me specifically studying, and I'm just now starting to understand and hone in on that power that's within, but it's here, it's here for those who want it, and it's not necessarily like a deeper discussion, but people in our community, we always talk about uniting and what is it going to take. We've been doing the same basic shit, it hasn't gotten anywhere because that's not where it's at for us. They study us for a reason, and they study what our ancestors laid down for a reason. That's where we have to go. We have to go to the knowledge behind the knowledge, if we want to get the results. Intent is very very important with this. Yeah, it really is.
That's the hardest thing. Like you said, it is so personal that you can't really. It's like we discuss it, and we can discuss it with other people that we've met who've taken that personal journey to get that information. For myself, to answer the question of how do I use it, it literally is, even if you were just to use the intent of saying that you want to be a better parent, right? So we're talking about ways and aspects of how do we improve ourselves as individuals and the Black community as a whole. And as David said, we talk unity, but if you're not a better you, then you're not able to contribute to the whole as much. The metaphysical aspect of it adds to a level of the ability to do and the knowledge to do, the purpose to do. Because I think a lot of people are, sitting around and they're cogs in the wheel, they're doing their work, and they just get up, they go to work. They slave away, they don't like their jobs, they're just paying their bills, they're just trying to get by, and they want deeper meaning to life, and maybe just reading their Bible isn't cutting it, or even reading their Quran, whatever it is that what path that you may get rejuvenation or source from, maybe it just isn't cutting it. So what we're saying is what can add another element and another layer, deeper purpose to your life is to go beyond what it is that you study. And because we can tell you from our own study that there is powerful knowledge behind what it is that you may have been studying that you may not be aware of. we found that out to be true for ourselves. For myself, I actually do put it to work. I do practice. There's just certain knowledge that I have about how energy works, and that was all from studying. That was literally all from going deeper than just the physics course that I got in junior year in high school, and I could prove it to you, but it really is a personal journey. So what makes me desire to teach on it and to talk to people about it is that I know that it's real. I know that it exists. How do I separate it from just being of a faith and telling you that that is real is because I went back to the source and I traced it back to the origins of what it is that I'm talking about. And I found that it's time and time again that it's true because it's universal law. It's not something that, yeah. I put it to work myself, yeah.
It sounds like you try different permutations, different combinations to see which one works and which one doesn't work. In a way, it kind of sounds like you're life hacking.
Pretty much. And you have to be bold in it. You got to be willing to look into some information that you never thought you would look into. You have to look into information that people told you not to look into. You have to look at information people said, "Oh, that's just bogus. That ain't nothing." It requires going to places that you never thought that you'd go before and delving. It requires a lot of study. And, I don't know how to make it sound any more interesting. Maybe it does sound dry. Maybe it does sound dry to people that are listening. But, really, I do think that once you tap in, if we all collectively tap into where we've come from and how our ancestors used it, I think we would be a highly powerful people. And our enemies know this, and that's why they've separated us from it.
And it seems like that's the why they know. In many instances, they say, study the ways of the ant. You see insect appreciation throughout many cultures, and the ant primarily because of the way they regroup when they're scattered.
Mm-hmm.
They burrow and dig underground, just like the movement moves underground. And yeah, it just seems to keep moving.
David
the God, are you with us?
I'm gone.
The God that you're trying to reach is saving a soul. Please hold.
Well, yeah, shoot. Usually we talk until we can't talk anymore. But I think that we, this definitely was kind of our initial test run. This was our first time actually going live on UI Radio, so it's pretty exciting.
Wow. I'm sorry. I'm still stunned.
No, go ahead.
Like, we just talked about having everything we have from every fiber of our being torn down and us having to rebuild, ourselves and, all the way down to the metaphysical level and back up for the actual physics. And, radio signals getting scrambled. We have built our own communications base through UI Radio.
And it's something, we'll definitely take the feedback that is given for sure and plan to have a more focused, outlined broadcast in the future for us. Again, it was mainly a test run and just kind of, getting our feet wet and getting back to vibing with each other because we do it often, but, actually broadcasting and doing it live, knowing that you actually have listeners is a completely different ball game. So for us, thanks for bearing with us and listening, and we will definitely take all the feedback we can get for sure. But hopefully it does, as we get more focused on things that are occurring, and also having specific topics. I think that, people may be able to get a little bit more out of it, and then we'll make it to where we can take questions and try
I
to
do want to say this, that when we get comments and stuff, it helps us know what kind of approach we should take. We really appreciate the instant messages and inbox from those who typed in, so that we could really focus on what kind of questions you might have. It helps us kind of relate a little bit better, especially me, because I know I don't know. Some of the stuff I say is not as relatable, but those inbox questions truly contribute to the show more than I could imagine.
For sure. And we definitely, it's to work again, because we have David as our mediator, as far as he's good at simplifying, going in between for us, and kind of being our translators. We'll definitely be dependent upon him for that, because it is a little bit hard to try to, I think for Madison and myself, it'd be a fundamental change to really try and change up the way that we are to speak a certain way. It's just the way that we approach. We don't want to be talking over anybody's heads by any means. So we'll focus it, and we will get better. And I don't know. I was excited to get this out of the